And I loved seeing everybody. I don't know if, I guess I'm spotlighted now. I love seeing all the moms with all the little babies. I miss that time so much. And I'd love to know more about the group so that I can join you guys. I would love to be a mother in the ministry here. It sounds amazing. So make sure that you maybe send me some information when we're done today. I'd love to know more.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Thank you.
I'd love to. And thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. So I love talking about organizing. Like, it's what I do for a living, but more than anything, I love talking to other moms about organizing. And I'm really excited today to give you guys kind of a head start on your post-holiday and New Year's organizing, because I sort of see those, all kind of coming together. And I'm going to hopefully give you guys a leg up on your neighbors and friends and everybody else. And when New Year's comes around, you'll have it a little less stressful with decluttering. So because of the work that I do, I have a lot of experience and insight into the clutter that accumulates in a family's home. But what was mentioned already, what's most important for you to know is that I can totally relate, because I'm a mom, first and foremost. It's my number one role and something that I love doing. We have 5 children and they range in age from 17 down to 10. So I totally understand the battle with the stuff, and it does truly kind of appear to come out of thin air sometimes. You feel like you've gotten rid of things and all of a sudden they just magically reappear. I don't know how that happens. But so while this afternoon I'm going to be sharing tips about holiday organizing, these ideas are going to expand into every other month of the year, because no matter the month, there are points during the year when I receive the most inquiries, or when it seems, our inquiries go up. And it's not just post-holiday or New Year's. It also happens kind of around that spring cleaning time and also back to school season. Those are 2 other really hot kind of seasonal times where people need help with decluttering. So, but since we're talking about holiday decluttering, that's where we're going to start. So let's start talking about decorations, because as you begin to pull out your bins, that is a great time to take a close look at everything. So as opposed to when you're putting items away, it's good to take a close look at them as you're going through, getting items ready to be displayed, taking a look at them. And if you've owned them for a couple of years, are they worn out? Are they not working very well? Are they not your style anymore? Is it something that you're ready to pass on? That's always a good kind of first step, is decluttering as you're pulling items out and starting to decorate. And by doing so, you're also going to be freeing up bin storage space for when the season comes to an end and you're packing it all away. So also decorating in layers. It's something that I always suggest doing. So for example, for me personally, I decorate for fall and for Halloween at the same time. And it saves me time when I decorate at once. And then when Halloween is over, as it just happened, I'm able to just kind of pull back that one layer and I still have fall there. You can also add classic items to your decor that work well for all, for fall, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And then again, as you're peeling away the layers, you can take another look at your decorations and decide, what do you want to keep for the next year and what do you want to pass on? And another important tip, this is an insider tip from me, because it's something we've experienced a lot, is as you're decluttering your holiday decorations, and you kind of want to do this more right now as opposed to in the thick of the season or as the season comes to an end, most donation centers are going to be more willing to accept your holiday or seasonal donations now, because people are coming in, they're thrifting, they're in the mindset to be purchasing it. But at the end of the season or in the off season, most centers are not going to accept them, because people aren't going to be buying the decorations, or they're just inundated. And there have been many times we have come into a donation center for a family that we've recently decluttered, and everything is turned away. And then we have to turn around and bring it back to the family and decide, what are we going to do? So this is a good time to look through those items. If you don't have somebody that you can pass them on to, and you are planning on bringing them to a donation center, that's something to keep in mind. Another tip, and I know this is really, really hard and it takes a lot of willpower, is to resist the urge to invest in more things or new things right now. And I know that's so hard. It takes a lot of self-discipline, it takes a lot of willpower. And trust me, I know the struggle. For me, Studio McGee is always calling me. And I heard about their line at Target, and thankfully it's been so popular that it's sold out in most stores. But unless you're planning on removing a few items, you'll soon be faced with how to store even more when that season comes to an end. So that's something to keep in mind, is trying to resist that urge to invest in more stuff right now. Also, in terms of holiday, is gifting, and gifting in a smart way. I think we've all been there where we've received gifts that you don't really love, you can't really use, you don't really feel comfortable re-gifting them, and you feel guilty about letting them go. But there's strategies for working through that if that is a struggle that you have. But I'm bringing up this point to remind you that there are so many ways to gift in a smart way. And I love to gift people with items that are something that they can use. For example, powder room gifts are always great. You can find really cute hand soaps, pretty hand towels. You can find cute reusable shopping bags, and you can add a small gift card to a store that they love to shop at. But I love to gift items that are useful. I also love to receive gifts that are useful and are useful for the entire year, not just during the holiday season. And you can get really creative and keep it cute, but also keep it inexpensive. And since holiday decluttering can bleed over into other organizing categories too, I wanted to be sure that we kind of talked about that as well, and that these are all kind of top of mind ideas. And these ideas are also going to save you time. So on the topic of clothing, the seasons are changing, and this is a great time to take a look at your clothing as well as your family's clothing, and kind of making decisions on what you want to pass on. Maybe items from the spring or summer that don't fit anymore, items that are worn out, you don't love them, they've seen better days. Again, they're not your style anymore. As you're bringing out holiday outfits for the kids and yourself, it's just kind of a good time to just go ahead and go through your clothing and theirs, and your garage. So garages are a big part of my business. It's one of my favorite places to organize, and it's probably where you guys are keeping most of your holiday decorations, and all the bins are starting to come out. So as you're pulling these items out, it's good to kind of take a look around your garage and see what is making it feel cluttered. What can you donate as you're already going through bins right now and getting items ready to be donated? It may be a good idea to take a quick look around and just go ahead and load those into your car to take with you. If it's not the garage, if it's the attic, if it's the shed, somewhere else in the house, it's just always kind of a good rule of thumb to, if I'm already going to be pulling stuff out and taking a look through things, can I take a quick look around and see what else I can grab to donate? Other categories that you can be keeping in mind for taking a harder look at right now would be holiday entertaining pieces like platters or plates, or, we all end up with, when you're hosting parties, I don't know what this year will look like, of course, with hosting, but in years past, people will come over with food and they'll bring a plate, and maybe that isn't really your style. It's something that you can pass on. Anything, along the lines of holiday entertaining, it's good to kind of go through that. Also, gift wrap, any old gift wrapping, good category to go through. Your playroom, toys, games, puzzles, books, arts and crafts. With with Christmas coming, you're going to have more items coming in that are within that category. So it's a good time to just kind of take a peek around and thin out that space a little bit. Another area would be your pantry or your cabinets where you're keeping food. Sometimes we don't always get through our holiday foods and they end up staying until the next holiday. So if you find that you have those items, it's kind of good to go check the expiration dates. and get ready for all the new holiday foods that are going to start coming in. And kind of moving into more, as I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today, it's one thing for me to share tips and ideas for decluttering, but I feel like more often than not, what you're going to want to hear are strategies for how to declutter. And I think this is where most of us struggle. So I had to talk about that topic a little bit today. And I'm also happy to stick around to answer more questions when this is done too. But just a few of my tips here are, first, taking it small. We already have so much going on. Any small investment that you can make in decluttering is going to help you quite a bit. It's going to help your mindset. It's going to help just in general. So starting with a small space and investing a short amount of time will go a long way. And any amount of time spent is a good investment. So if you don't have hours, it's okay. If you need to schedule it, go ahead and do that. I think it's really helpful to have yourself on the calendar and make yourself a priority too. You're going to feel so much better on the back end if you've scheduled yourself in. And my own personal game plan for decluttering and organizing is I keep it very simple. I would say number one, you want to choose one space, no matter the size. It could be a single drawer. It could be just your kitchen counter. It could be just your work surface in your office. Just start with one space. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to go and tackle your entire garage. Start somewhere small where you can feel a really good win. Once you've chosen that space, number two, you're going to want to get everything out and sort it and categorize it. Then number three, you're going to declutter. You're going to figure out what stays here, what doesn't belong here, what belongs somewhere else, what can be donated, what do you want to sell maybe, items that are going to be recycled or thrown in the trash. Your fourth step is going to be just cleaning the space from top to bottom, or if it's just a drawer, you'll clean out the drawer. And then you're going to set your items back in place and kind of live with it for a little while. The final step is always, for me personally, I think most homes, you have containment already on hand and you can get really creative. So I would always suggest starting by shopping your own home for containment before making a plan to buy anything new. So that's kind of my basic game plan when it comes to decluttering and organizing. And I find that keeping it very simple is going to give you a lot of wins there. So on the point of investing in new containment, I think this is where I see a big misstep oftentimes with families is there isn't a plan and you buy product before items have been decluttered. And buying product is never going to be the answer to getting organized. The first step is always going to be decluttering and not bringing more things into your space. And as the new year, the New Year's time approaches, you're going to start seeing more and more marketing, more how to get organized, and all the containers and all the sales are going to start happening. And it's important to be aware that it's marketing and to remember kind of what I'm sharing today with you. And, don't buy anything without a plan, I think is kind of the most important thing. Also, understanding and respecting the space that you do have and living within that space and kind of creating some boundaries for yourself. And as far as I'm concerned, the starting point to everything when it comes to organizing, it really begins with that. It begins with understanding how much space you have, how you can maximize it, how you can make that space better. And that includes decluttering, because decluttering, in all the work I've done, I've been doing this for a long time, families will bring me in thinking what they need is cabinets, shelving, bins, and it turns out just our simple act of decluttering has created so much space that we don't end up ever investing in systems like that. Another important point that I wanted to share is that organizing it's not an end destination. It's something that goes on and on. So it's good to have a system in place. And a system is going to kind of keep you on track, but it's never going to be done. There's always going to be ongoing maintenance. So I don't ever want a family to feel defeated, like, well, I just organized and I got this whole system and why isn't it staying that way? Well, it's not going to stay that way. It's like anything else in our homes. It requires upkeep and maintenance and, cleaning and touch-ups, and it's not an end destination. So I think no matter the season, for families, there's always going to be clutter. It's just always going to be there. And so what I like to say is embrace it. I find that it kind of takes the stress off of you to understand it's just kind of always going to be there, but just having a few strategies in place for keeping it under control, and then kind of scheduling the time to maintain it is important. And if, going back to kind of taking on some of those small wins, if you're looking for other categories that you can be decluttering during the season and you want to start small, you could start with something like all the cords in your house. Those are never ending. There's cords everywhere. And so maybe gathering all your cords, organizing them, figuring out what is something that you still need it for. Maybe you don't even have that item anymore. There's also remote controls we find all the time in homes. I don't know what electronic this goes to. I don't think we own it anymore. Or your food storage containers. That's always an easy win, is going through that drawer or that cabinet where they are and finding the containers that have a matching lid, reinvesting in something a little different that's going to nest better in a drawer for you. Or beauty supplies, medicines, that's a good thing to go through. Also, maybe some old paint that you might be storing in the garage. You can find other little categories during the holidays to kind of get a grip on and get on top of as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about how to stay organized. And I think, again, just going back to that system, having a system that works for you and not against you, and creating a system that isn't complicated, not difficult to maintain, especially for children. I think children love things that have an open top. So you don't want to create a system where everything's stacked and they all have lids, and it makes it really hard for the kids to not only get it out, but also to put it back. So finding a system that works for you and kind of really taking a deeper, think a little bit deeper into the space and who is going to be maintaining it, if it's a playroom versus your own closet. Also keeping in mind that when things change, habits need to change too. So when I organize for families, my goal is always to set up a maintainable system that's going to work in line with their habits. But there's going to be some habit changes when you make those changes. So you just need to be patient with yourself, give yourself some grace. And I think that pretty much covers everything. I did want to talk a little bit about if you feel, and I'm happy to talk about more of this in the, take on some questions from the chat, but if you feel like it's overwhelming to you and this is, decluttering and getting organized isn't something that you can do by yourself, I'm happy to talk about that as well. But I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So if anybody has a question, if they could just enter it into the chat, and I'll go ahead and read it for Sam, and I'll get started. And while they're doing that, this is Mitzi, my 7-year-old little girl, she's not here right now, so I can say this. She is a hoarder. So she shoves stuff under her bed. And so I just took the bed frame out of her room. So the bed is on the floor so that she can't put stuff under it, but she still just like puts things in every crack and crevice. And I have the open things, like, we have the system and we've talked about it, and it's just not, he really likes to put like toys in the clothing drawer and clothing in the toy drawers. Like, do you have any suggestions for that?
I know it's so tough. Really, whenever I'm asked that question, I always remind the moms that, and I have to remind myself too, is their children, and our role is as their parent to just continually repeat the same message over and over and over again, and eventually I promise you it'll stick.
Yeah.
um that's it's a tough question to answer. I mean, that's really the only thing that I have found that works is just being, just like with every other thing that we're teaching our children, it takes repetition over and
Yeah.
over again. And again, trying to find a system that's going to keep them keeping it organized, and maybe even bringing them in on it, asking them what would help you keep your room cleaner, like what would make you feel more motivated to do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I did do a incentive. I'm like, when you keep your room clean, she has a bay window. I'm gonna put little curtains up and she can have a reading nook, but it's for a video.
Oh,
So when she's ready, so kind of along those lines, one of our first questions is, do you have tips for the hoarder kid? So I guess I'm not the only one who can't let go of anything. Everything seems to have a sentimental value.
mm. I would say even asking, can we put something away for a little while and see if you really miss it? Kind of like what we do with our own clothing. Like we put it, if I don't wear this in a year, or there's a strategy that we use when we're in a closet with someone, let's put it away. We'll pull it out in about 6 months. If you still feel like, some people don't even remember that they had it. They're like, oh yeah, I don't remember I had that. I had no interest. I didn't go and look for it. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of along those lines also. So what do we do with the items that have to go? She says, I'm pretty good at decluttering, but then it moves to the garage as I decide where to drop it off or how to sell it. And that's the harder task at times. So that's, along with what you were saying, how do we store our things that are in transition out?
Right. Depending on how much you have, if it's a small amount, I would put it in your car.
Oh.
That's going to annoy you. And you're going to want it out of the car for sure. And then I think, again, scheduling it in and making it happen, taking action on it. It's putting yourself as a priority. Like your garage, I really view a garage space as interior space. I want people to respect the garage that way, because I want you to love your garage that much. I want you to want to go out there and work on your hobbies, or make it a playroom, a secondary playroom for the kids, or a home gym for you. And kind of treating that space with respect, and yourself, and getting the items out. So I would say taking action, putting it in the car is always a good tip.
That's good. It'll create pain. So then we have two that are kind of similar about holiday decor. Either it's a family item, or maybe a husband is attached to it, and they want to hold on to those things. So it's probably similar to the kids. Maybe put it away, and if they don't miss it,
Right.
okay.
Right.
And then, have you conquered Legos? One woman asked. Shannon.
Yeah, Legos are a big one.
Yeah.
Legos are a big one. And it depends on the volume. I've seen lots of volume. There's smaller, which still are just annoying to us, as the bigger collections. So there are either, we've done under bed storage. There's rolling bins that are similar to, you guys are probably familiar with the long, shallow bins, but they have wheels underneath. So you can roll them under the bed, and then you can pull them back out. And that kind of keeps everything contained. And it's also shallow enough where the kids can kind of dig through and find the pieces that they're looking for. Again, that's for someone with a smaller collection. If you have a bigger collection, then you might want to do something like an IKEA system that has little pull-out drawers, and it gives you a little bit more vertical space. There are also, there's an organization, I'm sorry, I'm not remembering the name right now, but you can rent Lego sets from them. And it's almost like a membership where they'll send you a set the kids can build it, and then you can send it back, and then you can have a new set sent to you. That's also a good option. So they're able to kind of satisfy that building creative side, but then the pieces aren't staying at your home. They're going back.
Yeah. I can't imagine sending them a full set back without any missing
I know.
pieces.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably don't get all the pieces back all the time. And if you're looking to donate Legos, the Lego organization now is accepting donations. So they will take your Legos back and they clean them and they send them off to, I think it's like low income families who may not be able to afford brand new sets of Legos. And but yeah, there's lots of storage ideas for Legos. It's just how much do you have? And what are the habits of your children? They're probably not going to keep them color coded. I've seen that system before and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then just giving them a space in your home where they can display the sets that they have built.
Okay. Another one is someone was asking where are the best places to donate around here, and someone else had said Savers is great. You don't even have to get out of your car. Do you have any other suggestions?
Yes, Savers is great. And then obviously Goodwill, there's many like hospice thrift stores. They're great. They take lots of items. And then ThreadUp is another great place where you can donate. You can either, I think with ThreadUp, you can either earn credit. I'm not sure if they pay you cash. It's either they give you cash or credit, but then if you decide you don't want to receive money or credit in return, you can, they'll donate it and they'll send a donation to Feeding America or other charities, which is always nice. You can also try the Facebook Marketplace or Nextdoor, and both of those you can do like a porch pickup, so there's no contact if you're worried about making contact, and people can pay you via Venmo.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for just everything, all the advice today. I took lots of notes. I have like 3 pages.
That's awesome.
We really appreciate it. And I know that there was one person that said, I love your Instagram. Another one says, what is your Instagram? So we're happy to share that with our group if that's okay with you. And we're happy to send you our highlights email too. So if you want to keep up with us, you sure can.
I would love to.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm just going to end the recording here. Okay.